wellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
You're listening to A Quirky Journey, the healthy family podcast with your hosts Jo Whitten and Fuad Kassab.
Welcome to A Quirky Journey. This is Fuad Kassab, and with me is a woman sitting in her car somewhere in far north Queensland. At least 15 minutes to organize the audio for this conversation.
Hey, it was like 5.
Well,
now that we're so energetic, we could probably go and cook 3 terms worth of meals. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, I'm doing it as we speak.
While podcasting.
Yes.
But seriously, how many of you saw the post on Facebook that I shared of my friend Bek, who cooks 3 terms of meals at once on the school holidays? She's a teacher. And you probably looked at it and went, what in the world? I could never do that. But yeah, so this podcast explains how she does it. And it's actually really doable.
Well,
I'm amazed.
I haven't told Lainey about this yet because, we've just had Sarah's birthday and, we've been up to our neck with cooking and all that kind of stuff. But I reckon we can do it too. We've got a freezer.
Yeah, if you get a good size freezer. So we talk about all that in the podcast, like the technical details of what equipment she uses and how she does it, all that kind of thing. We tried to answer all the questions that we could get through on Facebook. I think we pretty much covered everything. But one thing that we forgot to mention was reheating meals. First of all, let me just say for those of you who are thinking, ew, gross, 3 months of frozen meals. We had a good laugh about that because there was some hilarious comments on Facebook. I mean, some of them, not so much on our pages, more because this went on the news pages all over Australia. It was on taste.com. It was on the Daily Sun newspaper. It was up here in Cairns. It was everywhere. And we were reading the comments, and thankfully, Bek's the most happiest, sweetest person in the world, and she didn't get offended or upset by some of the comments because some of them were quite rude. But there were things like, oh, delicious frozen food every meal. Good job, Mum, using the microwave all the time and things like that. So we forgot to mention how to reheat frozen meals. So I want to just give you a really quick overview of that. So she uses...
People are just shameful. People are shameful. Joe.
Oh, you've got to hear this one. There was this one comment that we laughed at. This lady said something about how she wouldn't need to buy fuel for her car because she would run on... what did she say? Something about all her energy would be run on her smugness and all this stuff. It was just like, what?
If someone is panicking about feeding your family over the not being able to do it, like you've got this whole thing where you've got like the kids are going to school and you're working and your partner's working and you need to feed everyone and it needs to be wholesome, it needs to be healthy.
Yes.
You don't want to get ready meals or buy stuff from the supermarket and you're cooking it all from scratch yourself. You're getting great ingredients, putting it in the freezer so you can defrost it. Like how is that bad? How is that bad?
That bad. The thing is, she doesn't, as you'll hear in the podcast, she doesn't freeze everything cooked and then thaw it out. A lot of it is things like meat in marinades, ready to go into the oven, things like that. And she always has fresh fruit and veggies with meals that she cooks on the day. So you'll hear all that in the podcast. But yeah, there was a lot of crazy comments, and so we're back and forth sending messages about how we look forward to getting together for a cuppa and let's have a defrosted coffee. And
I love it.
So Bek and I are going out this afternoon for a cuppa to have a defrosted coffee together. And
are you sure you're going, or do you need to go into the freezer first before you go sleep?
So that I'm defrosting, or what?
Yeah, well. Maybe everything she needs everything to be frozen.
Anyway, I was trying to say about
the energy of those people.
Yes. I'm trying to talk about defrosting the meals. Yeah. So she takes out a week's worth of meals in a container and puts it in the fridge to defrost, and it's defrosting throughout the week. but frozen things go straight in, like casseroles and things go straight into the oven. Meat that's cooked in the oven goes straight into the oven. It can go in frozen and just be cooked for longer.
Meat that's cooked in the oven goes in the oven.
Sorry, I mean like a casserole that is going to be cooked in the oven, not on the stove, can be put in frozen. It doesn't have to be. You don't need to
defrost something before you put it in the oven.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So it'll take a couple more hours if it's really frozen. So you've got to have the time. But it can be done
stuff like we freeze meals, not as efficiently, but we'll put it in the pot with a little bit of water, cover it, and bring it to simmering, like that.
So if it's something that can be stirred on the stovetop, that's what I do. I just put it into the pot, a little bit of water, put the lid on, and just keep an eye on it, stir it now and then. If it's something that can be baked, then do that in the oven. Sometimes we'll thaw things and then put them under the grill. Like if it's pizza or something, you want that under the grill so that you can get that crispy crust, or in the oven. Yeah. And then we also, in the past, I've also reheated meals in the Varoma of my Thermomix, and I just put a piece of wet baking paper in the Varoma. I put the meal in there and just sort of lift the sides of the baking paper a little so the air's getting through, and put hot water in the bowl and just like put it on Varoma for like 20 minutes, speed 2, and it just on Varoma temperature, and it just steams. And then especially things like rice and quinoa, it comes out really beautiful again. It's fluffy and it's not mushy like it is if you cook it in a pan. So there's lots of ways to defrost and reheat and thaw out without using a microwave. And the other thing that she got sort of bashed a little bit about was all the plastic. Now, she completely explains what's happening there. She was using containers she already had in the home that she'd bought years ago, and she didn't want to waste and didn't want to put into landfill. And she reuses her Ziploc bags, but we have a chat in the podcast about options for reducing plastic. And she's only new to this, and she'll be, straight up with you that this is just something that she's working out. This is only the second term that she's done it. And so she's still working out different ideas. So sure, give some suggestions for storage, because she's still working on all that. But it's Bek is actually the most beautiful person, and she's doing this because she really cares about her family, and she has an illness where she's out of action quite often, a couple of times a week, with really bad migraines that she has to go to bed and she can't cook. And so she's trying to be prepared ahead for when her family need the meals. So, she's doing a great job, and I'm so proud of her. Oh, by the way, she's also started a private Facebook group. I think it's called Once a Term Cooking, but I'll put the link in the show notes, and you can go through and ask her questions on there. She's decided to come back to Facebook so she can answer the questions.
Maybe we could, at some point, like maybe for the next term, get her to do a blog post about what she's going to cook.
Yeah, that would be great.
Quirky cooking, and then everyone can.
Yeah, she would love that. She would love that.
Awesome.
She's been asked for a book and everything now. She better get cracking, start writing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, cool. Well,
even if you're not cook for a whole term, there's heaps of ideas in there for stocking up the freezer for, let's say, a week. Just get some ideas, and it'll be really helpful, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Sounds like a great podcast. I look forward to hearing it. I haven't heard it yet. So thanks for sharing it, Jo. And really, this is so cool. It had such a big buzz in the online community. So many comments, so many people came.
Yeah.
It was like so cool. And, of course.
I think there's so many people struggling with time management and wanting to eat healthy.
Yeah, definitely. Like you do what you can. Definitely cooking things fresh is best, but having a frozen meal with fresh stuff every day is a really, really good thing to do if you're struggling the way that Bek is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, fantastic. Well, Jo, shall we move on to the podcast?
That's a good idea.
All right. Chat to you soon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bek. Woo!
Hi, Jo.
She's not too sure what to expect of being interviewed for this podcast, but I promised her it's very chit-chatty. You can hear my sister in the background chopping pumpkins. Say hi, Joy.
Hi. Hi, Joy.
And I was going to take Bek to my office to have a nice professional podcast, and I just went, this is a kitchen kind of podcast, don't you reckon?
Absolutely.
So we're sitting at the table in my messy kitchen. Oh, it's not too messy because Joy's been cleaning up. Thanks, Joy. And Bek's brought me snapdragons for my table, so it's much nicer here than in what are they then? Oh, freesias. Whoops. Don't listen to me. I don't know my flowers.
No, they're snapdragons.
Oh, good. Yes, I got it right. They smell amazing. Thank you, Bek.
Sorry, Joy.
So everybody's been going a bit crazy over your mammoth freezer packing effort.
My big cook-up.
Your big cook-up. And there's about 2 zillion questions. And but I figure once you tell your story, it will answer a lot of those questions, and whatever's left, I'll try and ask you so that we can get some idea of how you managed that crazy feat.
Sure.
But first of all, do you want to just give everyone a bit of a background on you and what you do and why you're so particular about getting ready for meals?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not a doomsday prepper. Or...
Not yet.
I think the first question has to be, do you have a generator in case the power goes off?
I actually don't, but...
I have a generator, so if you ever need to borrow it, just let me know.
I'll just come up the road to your place and grab one.
Joe!
No, it is on the list of things to purchase before the next cyclone season, especially now I'm doing my big cook-ups. But that is definitely something that I do have in the back of my mind of what to do. So I'm still new to the big cook-up.
Is this just the second one that you've done?
This is the second term
that you've
cook-up
done,
that I've done.
3 months of.
3 months of cooking, yes. So I've always done lots of bulk cooking and things like that. My mum is a bulk cooker, and so she's always encouraged me to do that. So I've always made double or triple and frozen it. And then when I actually got sick, quite sick, about 6 or 7 years ago, and I got diagnosed with chronic migraines, but they don't always follow the expected. Can we not say
pattern?
That? Can we?
We can take that. Yes, sure.
All right. Yeah. So I got diagnosed about 6 years ago with chronic migraines, and they can debilitate me for very long periods of time. So in those periods of time when I'm quite ill, it can be just a matter of eating a lot of eggs on toast, pastas, things like that, which doesn't help me get better.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing when you don't feel like you're so unwell, but you don't feel like cooking. But that's when you need it.
Yeah, and that's when you need all the good foods and the nourishing meals and all that sort of stuff. But I'm too unwell to get up to cook anything, and my husband's not always home. So now that I work 4 days a week. I'm a prep teacher at a local school. I have 3 young kids between 6 and 10 years old. So my husband also works away in Cairns, which is about an hour and a half drive from where we are. And I do find that at the end of the day, you come home from work, can't think, can't plan, too tired to cook. And it was just getting easier and easier to make unhealthy meals. So I found that I thought if I do my meal prep for the entire term, I'll have the bases covered. I don't need to make decisions. I know basically what's there. I know what I need to do for that week. And it just took a lot of that decision and planning making out of the process.
And then also, I suppose, when you do sadly have one of your migraines, you're not like, sorry, family, there's no food.
Yeah, anymore. That's not happening anymore. Yeah. So we can... So I do a wide variety of foods. So it can be slow cooker dump bags, roasts generally on the weekend.
Wait, let's slow down.
Yes.
Okay. Slow cooker dump bags, what is that?
Oh, okay. So slow cooker dump bags are where you have prepped all your ingredients. You've put them into a bag. Unfortunately, I'm still trying to find a non-plastic way.
I was going to say, have you heard of those silicone Ziploc bags that are reusable? They're really thick. Yeah, I can show you. I've got some. I'll show you.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Because we were going waste-free. We're heading towards waste-free, and I thought, I'm going to have to make this compromise in order to look after my family.
And I know with Ziploc bags, I reuse them. I just wash them and reuse them.
It doesn't take much to do.
No. My mum's always taught us to do all that.
Frugal living.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's right.
Yeah, so I get the...
So even the veggies that are raw, chopped up for the slow cooker, you freeze?
For slow cookers, yes.
And
yes.
It doesn't make them taste weird and soggy? I mean,
No.
they're going to go soft anyway, I suppose.
They do tend to go... In the slow cooker, they're going to go soft, and it's not too bad to freeze a lot of that sort of stuff for the slow cookers. When it comes to things like stir fries and roasts,
do that.
and it's not nice to frost those veggies.
So what else? So slow cooker dump meals.
So slow cooker dump bags, that means once they're defrosted, I just pop them in the slow cooker in the morning. I put a little bit of, on the front of the bag, I'll generally write any extra instructions that I need. So, add herbs at the end of cooking or things like that. And then I also have some cooked meals are pre-cooked. So generally I'll have like bologneses, meat dishes, the strata, lasagnas, they're all pre-cooked. And so they just get taken out and popped into the oven. And then when it comes to other things, so I'll go more into how I break down the menu planning for each term later. But when I do my marinated chicken bags or things like that, it'll be just the sliced chicken with the marinade in there, and then I can just pan fry that up as necessary. When it comes to Sundays, I generally plan something along the lines of roasts or barbecues, and that way it's usually just a hunk of meat.
Yeah.
And fresh veggies on the side.
And you don't pre-cook the roast?
No.
No, it's just that that's set aside for that meal.
Yes, that's right.
When you do things like casseroles, lasagnas, stratas, do you this is what I've done before, and I'm just wondering how you do it, is freeze it in baking paper in the container you're going to cook it in, and then once it's frozen, pop it out so you've got the container like a Pyrex dish, and you can keep using that, but you just, no?
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
That's a great idea. No, I do have a lot of dishes for those sorts of things, and once I run out, I've just been getting the foil ones.
Oh, yes.
And look after them and just reuse them if I can. But I might try that.
You'd have to do a longer prep time for that sort of thing, because once it's frozen, then you can pop it out and put it into a bag in the freezer and then reuse the dish for another one that you're going to freeze. Do you know what I mean?
How do you reheat it without it falling apart?
So when you're ready to reheat it, you put it back in the dish that you froze it in.
Yes.
So it's got the baking paper.
Yes.
And you just put it back in the dish and then pop it in the oven frozen and cook it from there. Oh, I chuck them in frozen.
Yeah, generally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that idea. I do use baking paper on the base for things like, so at the end of the cook, using up all the bits and pieces, I'll generally make some quiches or just some bakes, eggs and bits and pieces.
And you freeze them as well?
I freeze them, and I'll use the baking paper in the bottom of those things.
You don't find that quiches go funny when you thaw them?
I don't know.
You're hoping not?
I do find the pastry does. The pastry's
not... Oh, okay, you're doing like a pastry quiche.
If I do a pastry quiche, it's not great. If it's just like an egg bake, with the eggs and the veggies, then pop that in the oven. I haven't had no issues with that yet. I'll keep you posted, because I'm doing that this term.
I guess it depends what you've got in it too. Like I find if you do like a Spanish tortilla with the potato in the egg, the potato goes yuck.
Yeah, I can't imagine potato working really well.
No.
I find mushrooms don't defrost really well either, so I try to avoid them.
Yep.
In any baking,
things.
unless it's in a lasagna or something like that.
Yeah. So there's lots of little tips and ideas already, but we have so many questions. We have so many questions, Bek.
Shoot.
Okay, so why did you first... So I guess we sort of talked about why you decided to do it, but did you start to work up to that? Like, were you always meal planning for a week and then you decided to go further, or...?
Not always, no. Sometimes I would do it for a little period of time, and then it would just get too hard because I find I wouldn't stick to it, or you get home at the end of the day and it would be a bit much, or...
Yeah.
So I would occasionally do meal plan for a week, or meal plan for... I did do once a month cooking for a while as well, but I was finding that by the weekend I'm generally quite run down and tired, and I need to rest if I'm not already sick.
Oh, because so I was
finding
it's more the holiday time is the best time for you because you've got a good chunk of time.
Yeah, so I've got a good chunk of time to do a big cook up, and then I usually have a rest the day after.
Yes. the day after. This would take me all 2 weeks of the holidays to do.
I doubt it.
So, yes, it would. Come on, tell us your secrets. How do you told me that you got the cooking side of it done in 2 weeks. Oh, sorry, 2 days.
2 days.
Sorry,
yeah,
2
the
days.
cooking side, yes.
Now that, I suppose if some of it is raw meat that you've put into a marinade, or you've got a raw roast in the freezer ready to roast, that's not a lot of prep time. But there's still a lot of cooking that you must do.
Okay, so what I do is in the lead up to the holidays, I'll spend a couple of hours one afternoon. I'll just make myself a coffee, sit down, and I get an A4 piece of paper and I write out weeks 1 to 12 with days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I have that in front of me, and I break down my meal planning into. I need some sort of framework to work within, otherwise it just gets too overwhelming.
Right, yeah.
So the meals need to freeze well. They need to be able to be complemented with fresh fruit and veggies, just
salads, whatever.
Salads, yeah, absolutely. And then I sort of have a formula that I stick to. So I generally have 1 bag each week of a marinated chicken, which I tend to serve with either, tacos or veggies, or just something that it's already there, and then I can say, I feel like making this with it, or I might just chuck it in some tortillas or something.
But that's the base, yeah.
That's the base. So I'll generally come up with a few chicken marinades, and I spread them out over the 12 weeks. And then I'll have one baking one baking meal throughout the week. So it'll be the strata, the lasagna, a casserole, something like that. I try to make sure I've got 1 fish dish a week. And again, it's usually just marinated, or if it's fish cakes or something, I'll pre-make those. I have my roast on a Sunday, because you still want to enjoy cooking. You still want to have a decent, something yum. I try to have 1 soup a week as well, and
a main meal kind of soup.
A main meal kind of soup, yeah. And at the moment, one of our favourites is tom kha gai. I love that one.
What's that one?
That one's along with chicken. It's a chicken, coconut, lemon sort of soup, very similar to what you've done with a few extra herbs and things that I chuck in at the end of cooking.
And does it go with rice or noodles or anything? It's just quite filling on its own?
Yeah, so I do chuck extra veggies in there. You can throw some extra noodles in there when it's cooking, so I'll have those in the pantry ready to go, because they're shelf stable, so they last a while. I try to have a beef dish and or a lamb dish as well. So I try sometimes a vegetarian dish as well. So I try to really break it down. When I did my plan the first time round, I did leave 1 night a week spare, because there are those nights where you go to friends' houses or a
recipe comes up that you just want to try.
Yeah, or you feel like cooking. Absolutely. And so, but I found this time I'm actually cooking every meal, and then if I don't use them all, I can use them for lunches.
That's right. Yeah.
So portion sizes we are a family of 5, and I try to make just a little bit more than what we would normally eat in a meal, so that there is some for lunches the next day as well, or breakfasts.
And so your meals that you freeze are the dinner meal for each day. You do some things for lunches, not everything?
No, yeah. So I do a few bits and pieces for lunches and tarts and things like that. And that also just breaks up the cooking into going, because I enjoy making tarts and cakes and things like that. So that breaks up the cooking for me over the 2 days, just to do something that just feels a little bit more rewarding. And then at the end of the cooking, I'll use the bits and pieces that I have left over to do extra dishes, like just a veggie bake or bits and pieces, which I can then use for lunches in the future.
And so you said, I think you mentioned smoothie bags.
Oh, smoothie bags. Yeah. Yes. So smoothie bags are, I get all my clip seal bags, I put them all in a box, and I get all the ingredients out and just pour them into each one. I make smoothies a fair bit. So
do you make the smoothies and then pour them into the bag?
No.
Sorry.
No, I put all the ingredients in. I was going to say that's a bit
that's a bit strange.
That's a bit much. So I get all the ingredients out and I pop them all into the bags, and
so it's just ready to chuck into the Thermomix to blend up.
Yeah, it just goes in the Thermi, blends it up. It's nice and cold then, and then all I have to do is add the liquid as well. So I do buy bananas. Well, I don't actually buy bananas in bulk. I got family that have banana trees and all that sort of stuff. So just grab bananas off them and peel them, and they freeze pretty well in the bags as well.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Is there... Okay, let me just find... I've got to find these questions again. So the actual cooking time, I'm still trying to nut this out.
That's okay.
So the 2 days of cooking, is that like full on your feet for 2 days?
Yes.
And hubby helps?
Oh, my hubby's amazing. So he does... He is. I like him.
That's good.
So he does he chops all the chicken for me because I hate that job, and he hates it too, but he does it for me. And he does come in and out. If he's home, he'll come in and out of the kitchen and help with the dishes and things like that.
But that's what drives me crazy when you're doing all this big cook-up is the constant dishes.
Constant dishes.
So if he's not there, you just handle it yourself? The kids help at all? Or?
Yeah, the kids help. My kids help out a lot as well.
Okay. And you don't get friends to come and help?
Not yet, because I get in the zone.
Yeah.
And
you get distracted if you were chatting.
If I'm chatting, work's not going to happen. So I'm concentrating. Okay. And so I do tend to take the phone off the hook.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I do put on a podcast or...
I know a good podcast.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, please tell me all about it. So I do put on some podcasts or some Netflix and just have that happening and something I don't need to think about, and I just get in and cook. So in my planning process, I work out all the different recipes I want to do. I'll spread them out over the 12 weeks, and I'll do about 3...
Oh, here's Fred. Hi, Fred.
I'll do about 3 of each.
Yep.
If I really like it, I'll do 4. Spread them out over the 4 weeks. I get all those as I'm planning it out. I'll write all the ingredients down on a list next to me, and then I can transfer all those recipes that I'm doing for all those meals that I'm doing for that week onto a weekly planner, so that. And on the back of those menu planners, I'll send you a photo to put up because it'll make a lot more sense. So I have a weekly planner that I just got from Kmart for $2.
Yep.
I put on there the 7 meals that I'm doing for that week. I may not actually use them in those days. I'll chop and change them as you go through.
That's what I do with planning. It's what you feel like at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes your meeting might run late. And by meeting, I mean, hanging out with friends, and you get home late and your plans need to change. But on the back of that menu plan that I do for that week, I write the list of the fresh ingredients as I go that I need for the grocery shop for that week.
Yep.
And then after I've done my weekly plan, my term plan, on my separate piece of paper with all my groceries on it, I collate all those up. So instead of having 6 batches of eggs, you'll know that you need however many.
Yeah.
And I then plan my purchasing. So because we live in a beautiful place that we live, I try to buy as local as much as possible, fresh as much as possible. And so I'll go around to the farms and I'll get the eggs in bulk. I'll get the veggies from the produce shop up the road.
Just grab Fred and put him somewhere else because he's noisy.
Fred, you're noisy.
Hello, Fred. You said hello, Fred.
So I'll purchase as much as I can locally, including meat. So I'll purchase meat. Oh, he's back.
Oh, Fred. He wants to be in the podcast.
I'm sorry.
I'll stick him down here.
I shouldn't have taken him with me, but if I left the room, he would have been late.
Yeah, I know. Okay, sorry, Dave.
That's okay. So I try to buy meat locally as well. So we've got a lot of local meat producers.
Beautiful meat, don't we?
Beautiful meat. So a couple of times I've bought half a pig, half a lamb, and just planned meals around using those as well. So in the lead up to the big cook, I will also scour the local shops for any specials, grab what I need, and then whatever's left on my list that I don't already have in my cupboards, I will order them online, and I get them delivered to my door.
That's a good idea. Save you time.
Oh, to save. And that's what the whole thing is about. This process has to be easy and efficient, or I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So I'll have the truck come to my door, put all the groceries in my kitchen. I don't really bother putting it all away. I just leave it on the, out on the floors and the benches because it's all going to be used in the next 2 days anyway. And then the next day I get up ready to go. I do spend the 2 days cooking. Sometimes, stop for half an hour and, have a little rest or whatever. But I do spend the 2 days cooking. The first thing I always put on is a big stock pot, big stock pot of bone broth. because I'd later divvy that up and either put it in the soups or freeze it ready to put into the recipes later. And if it doesn't get used up in the big cook, I'll have it for lunches and breakfasts and whatever down the track anyway. The bolognese is another big thing I get started and going because that's easy. I don't need to think about it. It gets me in the zone. And then I just start the process.
Yeah.
So,
can you think of any questions so far, Joy?
So many.
She's overwhelmed.
I do get out the back. So I do have another space out the back of my kitchen,
like
which
a
you've seen in the
second kitchen,
photos, where I do put out all my
Oh, yes, that's what we need to
containers.
talk about, the boxes, because a few people said, what are they for? So explain the box system.
They're a leftover attempt at organising, and they happen to fit in the $200 freezer that I got off Gumtree.
Woohoo!
So, winning. So one box is 1 week. I can fit usually around 4 to 6 meals in one box, depending on
What the meal
is for that week. Absolutely. So when I used to cook at do big cook-ups at my old house, I didn't have a big kitchen. I had a very, very small kitchen, but I'd bring in some camping tables and I'd put them up in the dining room and I'd set up using that as well. But now that I've got this other space, I lay them all out. I label them from 1 to 12 and I have a spare. So, as you're cooking and serving up, you'll go, oh, there's a little bit extra there.
Yeah.
You don't want it to go to waste.
Goes in the extra box.
And I find that by the end of the term, because by the end of the term, you've missed a couple of meals or whatever's happened, that I usually have enough meals to get me through at least 1 week on the holidays.
Oh, that's
as well.
nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's good fun.
Yeah.
So in those boxes, I stack them in my freezer in order from the last week to the first week. So I'm not having to double handle and go searching. I just take the top box out, and on the Sunday night, I pop it in my fridge and it defrosts throughout the week.
Ah, good. That's what I was going to ask you. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, so and then using my menu planner, on the back of my menu planner, I have, for each week, I have the fresh groceries. So just before what are we in, week 1 now? So last weekend, I just went and got those extra few fresh things that I needed, plus your other bits and pieces that you need to run a family. And they're all in the fridge ready to go.
Can you tell us what some of your favourite meals are for freezing?
Oh, well, I'm still experimenting with a lot of different ones. I find some work, some don't. Tom Kha Gai is a favourite in our family.
You mentioned the marinated chicken, so you can find all different marinades for that.
Yeah.
You could do a saffron chicken out of life-changing food.
Well, that's what we're having for dinner tonight.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what we're doing for dinner tonight.
That's cool. Yeah, we do that one. We put it in the marinade and freeze it. And it's so actually, Fuad's doing that for tomorrow for his daughter's big birthday party. He's had it frozen
what a good idea.
for a farewell, and you just make the skewers and do it on the barbie for all the people. It's beautiful. We did it last weekend with the skewers with capsicum, mushroom and onion, 2 different colours of capsicum, and it really bulks it out to do it like that. Yeah, have a salad with it.
Yum.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we are having that one for dinner tonight.
And what are you having with it?
Steamed veggies.
Yep.
So usually some steamed veggies.
Yeah.
And
simple.
Nice and simple. It's got to be simple.
Yes.
It's
Otherwise
got to be
it won't be
simple or it
doable.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I did see online there was a lot of people saying that I couldn't eat only a freezer meals for 3 months.
But you're not eating only freezer
I'm not
meals.
eating only. Yuck.
No.
We love the strata.
The zucchini and mushroom strata
Yes.
out of life-changing food.
Yes, we do. We do really love that one.
Oh, that's good.
And
That one freezes well.
we do like a beef salad as well. So
So you
I
just do the marinated beef in the freezer?
Yep, so I get rump steak and slice it all up and marinate that, and then just do that with a nice fresh salad. It's a bit of a Thai beef salad.
And if anyone's a little bit new to cooking and still learning, so you buy the fresh meat, slice it up and then marinate it. And then, so you're not buying frozen meat, thawing it, marinating it, freezing it.
No.
Buy it fresh. Okay.
Yeah, so buy it fresh. I do all the slicing, chopping, so that all I have to do when I get home from work is just put it in the pan and put it on the plate.
Nice.
and it's nice and simple.
And while it's cooking, you can be making the salad or whatever.
Yes, absolutely.
So what other meals can you think of? What's some more options?
I didn't bring them in with me.
You can give us some to, like when you take a photo of your meal plan for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
send you through some. I'll
That'll
send you
be
through
good.
some photos.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. So one of the comments, a few times actually I saw this, was, wow, I suspect part of her secret may be because she's not on Facebook. Can you comment on that?
Yes, I went on Facebook about 3 years ago and haven't looked back. Because it did take up a lot of time.
I have to tell you guys the sorts of things that Bek does with her spare time. Don't ask me how she has spare time, but she does. And she crochets, knits.
I don't knit.
Okay, you don't knit.
No.
Crochets, draws, paints, pen and ink.
Pen, yes.
Leather work with the journals.
Yes.
What else do you do? Oh, fermenting.
Yes. Spend time with the kids. Well, I used to do gardening, but not anymore. Got ducks.
You've got a lot of animals.
Yeah, we got a lot of
And
ducks.
chooks and
Yes.
Like, you amaze me.
Thank you. I think you're amazing too.
Aw. Didn't you design your house that you live in?
Yes, we
Oh.
did. My husband and I did that too. So we were living
There's
in
a lot
shed.
of people saying, I love your kitchen.
Oh, I love my kitchen too. No, we lived in a shed for 12 months.
That's right.
Yes, and while we built the house. So that was fun.
She's a very artistic, organised person. Perfect for teaching children.
Yes, absolutely.
That's good. Yes, I have to ask you this question. Don't you get sore feet?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Does your husband give you a foot massage
Yes, he
afterwards?
does.
Oh, he is a good husband.
He is
He's a
good
keeper.
So, no, that's one of my big tips is that a must-have
Is a
good
husband that
shoes.
massages your feet?
Oh, right.
No.
Yes, that. No, is definitely
Good shoes.
Good shoes. And I also have big bath mats that I put in front of the oven.
Oh, I used to
where
do
I'm
that,
cooking.
the cushiony ones.
Yeah, and that helps us a lot too.
Yep. One lady says, I'm wondering how you manage to make it last the whole term. For example, if I make biscuits, I have to put them into 3 containers named for each child and tell them they need to last a week. They then eat at their own pace. I cannot even imagine the logistics of this for an entire term. However, almost finished my teaching degree and overwhelmed with the amount of work teachers have. So think your friend is an absolute legend.
Oh, that's encouraging. I think as teachers, that's what we do. We plan a term ahead. We plan a year ahead.
Yeah,
we
that's
plan a
it. You're used
semester
to
ahead.
planning.
And to have that time on the holidays just to get this done and out of the way takes a huge load off my mind. So, but I don't. If I make biscuits in advance, I can imagine they would
That would
disappear,
just disappear.
extremely
Yeah.
quickly with my children.
But that's the sort of thing you make as you go, really, is it?
Yeah.
It's more the meals that you've...
It's more the meals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cost. We did mention a little bit about... Can you give us some budget tips for bulk cooking?
Okay, so buy in bulk, buy on sale. I buy as locally as possible. So when it comes to meat, my first big cook-up did cost around $900, $950, but that's because I bought half a pig.
Yeah.
And I'm still using him.
Yeah.
Oh, I really shouldn't refer to it like that. I still have a few pieces of pork
in your
left
freezer.
that I'm using up.
I want to personalise it here.
And it does not come in a pretty little package with a black tray underneath,
No.
so it can be quite confronting sometimes when you buy
I know.
half a beast.
I remember so well the first time I bought half a pig locally, and it pulled one out that looked like sort of a round, flat roast, and I was like, cool, stuck it out to thaw, and then when it was, half thawed, I turned it over, and it was a pig's head.
Oh!
And it was sliced lengthways. Oh. So on the other side, it was like a roast. And I went, Mom, can you please cook this? I can't do it. She's like, oh, give it to me. My mum's cooked everything. She doesn't mind it all. She goes, it was really nice. I'm like, good. I'm glad she liked it. I couldn't bear to do that.
I found it really confronting when I got my first half a pig and I pulled out some pork belly and I thought, oh, yum. And I had it all defrosted and I marinated it and I went to pull it out to put it in the oven and there was 3 nipples running along it. Oh, my goodness.
My kids freak out at that if they see nipples. It's like, no.
But that's the reality of...
Isn't it? And you're trying to use every bit
That's right. Trying to honour the whole animal.
Yep.
So I do buy my animals in bulk if I can. My meat, in bulk if I can, fresh from the farm. Can you tell we're from the country?
Yeah.
And lots of fruit and veggies locally. So at the moment, there's a lot of winter veggies on for sale, and I'll buy them in bulk from the roadside stalls or directly from the farmers, things like that.
See ya. Thank you.
See you later.
See you tonight. Okay.
And what else? So I'll get a lot of fruit and veggies from the local stores and farms. Eggs I'll buy. We've got a local place I can get trays of eggs quite cheap if my ducks and chickens aren't doing what they should be doing. We've got lots of friends locally.
I know. Yes. I always say I feel kind of sorry for people that live in the city because here we're constantly given food. Like people will turn up at my house with a box of avocados, a box of bananas, a box of grapefruit,
tomatoes,
chocos. People are always giving you their surplus, and we used to live out on a farm, and you'd be driving down those back farm roads and there'd be potatoes all over the road that had fallen off
the trucks.
And I'm thinking, man, you could not starve here.
No, you couldn't. So if I've been given a big box of avocados or a big box of bananas or whatever, I'll try to incorporate whatever they are into my meal plans. And
it makes you creative. I like it.
Absolutely. In the lead up to my big cook, I will check out the local shopping, the local supermarkets for what's on sale or specials and things like that. And that helps a lot as well. And my mum is an amazing bargain hunter, so she'll quite often ring me up. Hey, there's this on sale. Do you want me to get you some? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of salmon dishes in this one around because she found me cheap salmon.
Oh,
so we've got a lot of salmon coming up.
There you go.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest concerns that people had was the plastic, and we have talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is just my tips for people who were asking, and then you can give us some of your ideas. I used to have a big cupboard full of plastic, I think like most people, and you open it and everything falls out and you shove it back in. And as I phased them out, I just kept now and then, like, every second time I went to the grocery store, I'd buy like one of those glass decor ones or things like that. And I'd buy when I'd see the half price specials of the big box full of all the different sized glass dishes with the lids, I'd buy one. And I don't have hardly any plastic containers, but it's not a case of chucking them at the dump because you don't want to use plastic. It's kind of like that's defeating the purpose. So I feel like, you're doing a good thing by still using them. But it's something that, like, you can use jars for soup, like jars from the grocery store that you've gotten something in. Save your big jars, put your broths in there and your soups in there. Just be careful when you're freezing them. You need to leave the lid off and have like a couple, depending on how big the jar is, but have a good space at the top, maybe a tenth of the jar. Have a space because your liquids expand in the freezer. And then once it's frozen, then I put the lid on.
I would suggest making sure that you've got good quality glass, because I have found some glass containers that I've used to freeze food in becomes really brittle.
Yes.
And I've actually had to throw meals out because it's cracked.
Yes, so you need the good thick glass.
Yeah. Good quality. Good quality glass, absolutely.
Yeah. And some other ideas were the silicone Ziploc bags. I'll go and have a look and see what that brand is. You can talk more about any of your ideas.
Oh, sure. So plastic is a concern for us because we'd gone nearly plastic free at home. We had replaced all of our food containers with glass containers. I didn't even own Glad wrap in my house.
Yeah.
And so I did feel quite concerned buying all these plastic bags, and
you're trying to find the balance, though, aren't you? You're trying to find what's the most urgent thing at the time. Well, you're going to just have to use what you've got and have a healthier meal for your family at this time.
That's right. Like my priority is my family's health, and as I go through this process and finesse it more and more,
it's only the second term.
To continue doing it. It makes such a difference that to find reusable products that I can.
Yeah, so
substitute.
If anyone's listening on the podcast and you've got some great tips for everybody else, leave a comment on the Facebook page or wherever we've posted the podcast, because it's really helpful for other people. So this Ziploc bag that's a silicone one, it's from Litter Free Living.
Oh.
I've got a few different sizes of this one. www.litterfreeliving.com.au.
It's about the same thickness as a clip seal bag as well, isn't it?
A little bit thicker, not too much.
A little bit thicker. That's great. It's got the double.
Yeah, it's got a double
as well,
seal,
which you need because as things freeze.
Yeah,
that's great, Joe. I'm going to get some.
Yeah,
that's one problem solved. Thank you.
That's all right.
I like that.
And also I use paper a lot for wrapping things that. For instance, if I'm making muesli bars or chocolate energy bars or something like that, I'll wrap them in the toxin-free baking paper.
Yes.
And then once you've wrapped them, because they all need to be individually wrapped, and it's like, well, you don't want to use Glad Wrap for all that.
No.
So wrapping them in baking paper and then popping them into a container, that works well. And then the kids have got them to take separately wrapped.
And you're not having to defrost the whole lot all at once because it's stuck together. I do
Quiches work like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do find that the baking paper is a necessity for cooking on so many levels. So lining the containers for like the tarts and things like that. And I'm going to use your new trick as well. But then also, the individual wrapping for the bits and pieces, quiche pieces and bliss balls and all that, so they don't stick together. But I also use it for one tip I have found really helpful is when you make your lasagna or your strata or something like that, to put a layer of baking paper on the top before I put the foil on over the top, because otherwise everything sticks to foil,
and you don't want the
silicone
foil on your food because of the aluminium.
Yes.
So put the baking paper, then the foil. Yeah.
And it gives that space as well.
That's another great tip for those of you who are worrying about freezer burn on the top of a casserole. If you do a cheese sauce, then put your baking paper onto the cheese sauce and actually press it on, and then freeze it, and then, your white sauce, and then when you're ready to cook the casserole, if it's meant to have grated cheese on, you put the grated cheese on. You can freeze it like that, I suppose, but what I've often done is just had the sauce, and then you pull the paper off, and it's not all freezer burnt because there's no air. And then you can either put cheese on or leave it just like that.
Yeah, I am fortunate that I haven't had much problem with freezer burn.
That's good.
Because everything's individually wrapped and then inside a plastic box.
That's true.
Inside my container for the week. I haven't actually had an issue with freezer burn.
Yeah, because a few people asked about that. Some people have asked about the length of time that it's frozen. 3 months is fine for pretty much anything.
Yes.
Like you'll find chicken can freeze for 3 months, no problem, and that's probably the one that people worry about the most. If it's a dish with meat and veggies that are cooked or something like that, I find the best thing to do is make sure it's got enough broth or sauce to cover everything, and then it doesn't get that. Is that what you find?
Yeah, I do find that when I've got my sliced pieces of meat I have the marinade in there as well, that helps it freeze and defrost well.
Yep. Okay.
Were you asking about cost?
Cost.
Cost.
We keep going from thing to thing. That's all right.
It's because we're women.
We're just having a chat, right?
That's right. So when I did my first big cook, it did cost around $950 because I bought half a pig as well, which was, I think I paid $320 for that. And that was around 65 kilos of meat. Yeah. But this term I used a lot more smaller pieces.
Yeah.
And it came to just over $600 plus the bits and pieces I had in the freezer. But that doesn't include the nightly fresh veggies and salads that go with it.
And whatever you... Oh, yeah, and not the other meals so much. It's just the dinner.
That's just dinner, absolutely, yes.
But still, like if you think about if you went to a restaurant for dinner for 5 people, you can easily spend $200 to $300 on one meal.
No, thanks.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, this is what's happened to me before when I've taken my kids travelling with me and I'm like, $200 for breakfast? This fancy cafe? I'm going to travel by myself from now on.
You're all doing the dishes for a month.
That doesn't happen too often, obviously. But, yeah, it's really quite cheap to do it that way.
Yeah, and
save a lot of money.
And because, I'll be cooking with 6 kilos of mince at a time.
Yeah.
it breaks down into a lot more meals than if you did 1 kilo of mince, which would do maybe 1.5 meals or however, you know, just pulling figures out of the air.
Yeah.
So it does go that little bit further when you're cooking more.
Yes.
And then I make sure I try to reduce waste as well at the end. So at the end, as I said before, with doing the bits and pieces, I'll just think on my feet. Like,
yeah, that's right.
If I've got heaps and heaps of just little bits of greens left over, I actually dehydrate them.
Yep.
And pop them in a Thermomix and make my own green powder to go in my smoothies.
Oh, wow, that's clever.
Yeah, so that's
clever chooky you are. Dehydrators are the best.
I love my dehydrator.
If you've got a garden especially, but anytime I end up with way too many herbs or you've got too many ripe tomatoes and you're not going to use them, or you can freeze them, but then sometimes you run out of room, and it's nice to be able to dehydrate. It takes up less room.
It does.
Yeah, and you can use them for different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's have a look. If you think of something else, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you some more questions.
Yeah, go, shoot.
Okay. This lady wants to know if she could please have a video of the 2-day extravaganza. You can do one of those fast motion videos of the whole 2 days. That would be cool.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, what do the kids do while you're cooking? Does life stop for the 2 days?
No, it does for me, not necessarily for them. So
they're a little bit older. Like, how old did you say? 6,
8 and 10.
Yeah, so they're not under your feet.
No, so they do help out in the kitchen for a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got a beautiful big backyard, so I will send them outside to play. Occasionally, I will threaten them with chores if they come back up to the house.
I'm bored. Oh, good. I've got something for you to do. I'm not bored.
Nope. Going back out.
I always use that.
It's good fun. But they're really good at playing together and keeping themselves occupied. If my husband's home, he'll use that time to spend some one-on-one with them, so he'll take them out.
Yeah.
But
that's good. Okay. And another request for a video of how you use the recipes. How do you make lunches every day? Okay, so what kind of things go into lunches?
So I have Planet Box lunch boxes. I actually teach at the school my kids work at. No, they go to.
They're doing their schoolwork at.
Yes, that's right. And they help out with doing their lunches a lot as well.
That's good.
I do want to get into preparing. Well, I do quite often prepare a salad on the Sunday afternoon and use that for the first 2 or 3 days that we're all at school. They're really good at helping with their lunches as well.
That's good. You train them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll come out and we've been trying to teach them as well, you know, to have a vegetable, their fruits, their grains, their meats, what have you got, what's going to fill you up. So we're trying to use that as a teaching experience there. It's something I want to sort of think about a little bit more into going into preparing for the week advance without being too specific about it. But I usually have leftovers. We use leftovers in a salad.
For lunches.
Yeah. It's easy. I usually have leftovers in salads. The kids will generally have a little bit of leftovers, salads, and then plus bits and pieces that we've got.
Yeah. Okay. So thawing meals, you've got them thawing in the fridge, so they're pretty much thawed out by the time you go to cook them usually?
Usually, so at the beginning of the week, maybe not so much, because I keep them in the box. Because I don't know if you have this problem. It's a conundrum that I have. I will have these food in sealed plastic bags, you know, double clipped. Yet meat juices still come out in the bag. I don't know how that happens, but I do keep them in the container in the fridge, and so it does take a little bit longer to defrost, which is
good for the end of the week.
And I'm not feeling like, you know, I have to use it before it goes off. So generally on the Monday in the morning, I'll take some food out and put it out to defrost. I find leaving it on a little rack helps it defrost really quickly.
Do you ever put casseroles in the oven frozen?
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I do. That's easy. It's fast. I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. It takes a bit longer, but...
That's okay.
Yeah, it works. Okay, so let's see. Chest freezer.
Oh,
You've got 2?
No.
How many?
1.
Oh, I thought you had 2.
No, I've got 1.
How do you manage
But I do have another freezer.
Okay.
So I've got a freestanding freezer. But at this time of the term, there's not much in it.
Okay.
Then I have my chest freezer, which is just, I was going to figure out how many litres it is, but it's just a standard freezer. It's not a huge one. It's not a big one. Just a standard deep freezer that I got off Gumtree for $200.
Yeah.
So that's where my meals go in there. So by the end of the term, once that starts getting down quite low, I'll take the food out of there and put it in my smaller freezer and turn that one off.
So if you get bulk meat and you've got that freezer full of boxes, is the bulk meat going into the freezer boxes? So then it's okay.
Yeah, so
you don't have both at once because that would be like hard to.
I would need two. I would need two deep freezers then. Yeah, so I'll get my bulk meat, break that all up, put that into the freezer boxes, and then when I have leftovers from that goes into my smaller freezer. So I do have two freezers.
Yeah.
Yes, but they're standard sizes.
Okay. I should mention here also for those of you who are not used to buying in bulk, the difference in price is amazing. Like,
so much.
I get organic grass-fed beef for $12 a kilo because I buy it in bulk. You won't be able to buy ribeye fillet steaks for $12 a kilo if you're not buying in bulk.
No.
And organic sausages and things like that. I don't think even those would be $12 a kilo probably.
No.
In bulk. Unless in bulk.
But what I like when you do buy your meat in bulk from the farm is that they do beautiful sausages for you.
They do.
Without fillings.
Without fillers.
And
they just do what you want in them.
Yeah. And I like that way.
Me too. And also going through co-ops. Do you go through co-ops at all to buy dry goods or no?
No, but a girlfriend and I are looking at starting one up to buy our nuts and
Well, if you want to order with me, you can.
Oh, well,
yeah, because we're about to do another order.
Oh, right.
Yes, because I've been doing that since Simi was about 1. So how old is he now? 19. For about 18 years.
Right.
Buying all my dry goods through like things like nuts, seeds, coconuts. Back when I would buy all different flours, now it's more almond meals and things like that. Oils, honey. Although the honey I don't generally get through Co-op. Some people do. I get it local.
Yeah.
Maple syrup you can buy bulk, but it's got to be kept cool. Just so many things. It saves so much money.
Yeah, I definitely need to get my nuts from a co-op. I'm going to have
because it just gets too expensive.
It does. It gets really does get too expensive. But yeah, honey I get locally.
Yeah.
From friends. But yeah, coconut oil I buy in bulk online as well, and that gets delivered to my door.
And another thing that a little tip for people who, if you can't afford to do a bulk order, I used to put aside a bit of money each week towards my bulk order, and that money was in a bank account so that when I got to the 3-month mark, I had money for my co-op order. And another thing that you can do if you just feel like you can't do that giant big order all at once because it may cost $600 or whatever, I go to my local health food shop and I just say, can I get like a 3 kilo or a 5 kilo bag of, say, tapioca starch or almond meal or whatever, and they'll give me a good price on it. So even that helps. Even if you can't do a gigantic co-op order, just as you buy things, try and get bigger lots.
And once you get into the swing of it, then each term your grocery order
gets less.
Yeah. So
that's right.
As it goes,
it'll start off. It'll be an investment at first. And you've got to think of it like that. It's an investment, but it will get cheaper as you go. With like you're saying, if you're buying, you're working out where to buy things. You're working out how to get it in a bulk amount. You're working, as you buy your glass containers or your special bags or whatever you're using, it'll be an outlay at first, but then you'll just keep using them.
That's right. And I think it's wise spending as well. You spend it.
That's right.
You buy good quality first time and then you don't need to replace it.
That's it. Okay, let's see. There's a few more questions here. Actually, there's heaps. We might have covered quite a lot of them. Someone said, if this is the same Bek I know, and she says where you live, she's amazing.
Oh, who's that?
Jay.
Oh, it is too. Hi,
Jay. That's funny. Okay, I'm just going through. Okay. Somebody's saying, sensational, so inspiring. Best get off the sofa and stop watching useless TV and make me some menu plans. And you know what? This is something that I think we should talk about is time organisation, because I've always done this sort of thing, like meal planning and, you know, getting up early and having sometimes 3 meals cooked by breakfast and things like that. But and like I might get things done at night or whatever, and people say, how do you do it? We don't have a TV. We don't have, you know, we're not constantly out. We're home a lot.
Yes.
And I do like to watch a movie now and then on my computer or read a book or whatever. It's not that I never do that, but there's so much time wasted with things that where we could be, you know, if you've got it planned ahead, it doesn't take as much time as you think it will.
Yeah.
Can you comment on time saving?
Yeah, I think when it comes to, I don't actually really want to be doing this. I would much rather, you know, go to the beach with my kids or, you know, crochet or something. But the fact remains that the same amount of time passes whether I'm doing this or not.
Yes.
And if I just get in and get it done,
get over and done with,
then I reap the benefits later.
And you've got time in the evening to spend time with the kids then, don't you?
Yeah.
And especially for working mums, I think that's important. You've got to have that family time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can find any more that I need. I should have had them all written down, but there was so many. Okay, we have answered quite a lot. So, Beck, is there a book coming?
Well, is there, Jo?
I don't know. She's thinking about it, aren't you, Beck?
I am. I think it'd be fun.
Her arm.
I think it'd be a fun project. Why not? And I do need to finesse things a little bit more, but you know, we're all on our journeys.
Well, that's it, and you've got time. I mean, books take a long time to write.
That's right.
Ours took a year. That's 2 people working hard the whole time. Okay, I think we've answered most of it. I'm sure there'll be more questions once it comes out, but okay, I'm going to quickly find my list again. So have you got some first steps for people that they could do? Like, it's overwhelming to think of cooking for 3 months. So what would be a first step that someone could take?
To sit down with that piece of paper, write out your weeks 1 to 12. In those weeks, 1 to 7, and then have in your mind what sort of meals you would like. So for us, we have to have largely dairy-free. So my daughter's quite dairy intolerant. We are heading towards being grain-free. Like, we're on our journey. We're not there yet. But
does anyone ever get there? It's just a constant journey.
That's right. So it's about going, okay, do these recipes fit in with my family's needs?
Yeah.
And breaking it down into things that are easy, that aren't going to take a lot of time, that freeze well, and putting it onto paper.
Yeah.
And once you have it on paper, you can transfer that information into your grocery list.
Yeah.
And then you just get started.
Yeah.
And I don't put a time limit on myself. I usually carve out a few days. So this week, it doesn't always have to be back-to-back days either. This term, I did it on a Wednesday, and I think it was either a Friday or Saturday. So I did on a Wednesday.
That's a good idea, yeah. Have a break.
Yeah, to break it up a little bit, because otherwise it just becomes
gigantic,
overwhelming.
Yeah.
So to break it up, the first time I did it, I actually would cook for an hour or 2 and then go sit down for half an hour and read a book or
and some
whatever,
of the meals are like 3 or 4 times in that 12 weeks, so you just do a giant batch and divide
Yes,
it.
right, okay. Yeah, so I usually have about a big bowl, and I have 3 of the clip seal bags in there, and I'll chop up all the chicken, pop them, or whatever the meat may be, pop it into those 3 bags, and then in another jug I'll make 3 times 3 of that marinade, or times 4 of that marinade, break it up between the 3 or 4 bags, and then go put it in the box. Come back, do the next one.
Yeah.
So for the soups, this time I did cook a few of the soups in advance. Some of them I didn't. So I had some soup cooking on in the background. Once that had cooled down a bit, I'd put those in the 3 or 4 bags. There's another 3 or 4 done. And then I would have, again, I find a big bowl or a container is necessary to hold the bags while you're breaking all the food up. So
yeah, that saves heaps of time. So it's not like you're making 12 weeks of all different meals.
No.
When you're doing that, like you take, so just say the butter chicken, for instance, my butter chicken.
Yes.
We quite often double or triple that in a big pot on the stovetop. So any prep that can be done in the Thermomix, we'll chop in there or whatever and then tip it into the pot and then cook. And same with things like bolognese. Like we chop all the veggies in the Thermomix, dump it in a pot, chop more veggies, dump it in a pot until we have this gigantic pot full of veggies and bolognese sauce, and it's just simmering away for an hour or so. And then that makes heaps of meals because you've still got to add the noodles to it or whatever. So
and stretch it out.
That's right.
I do find that chopping up what I need just for that meal at that time helps, so that I can put those in the freezer and know that that's done. I'm not cutting up 50
all
onions.
the tomatoes for all the meals or anything. No, just
it's too overwhelming.
Stick to one recipe at a time.
I usually have about 3 or 4 going at once, but I make sure I can finish them before I go into the next thing. So there is a lot of coming back to chopping up onions and coming back to chopping up the carrots. But it does break it up because sometimes you go, I just can't do anymore. I need a break. And then I can put it all away.
You have to be at a stopping point. You can't have 12 things going at once, otherwise you can't stop.
No, and then you're not left with bagged, bowls of chopped onions for 2 days till you get back to it. It's just something that hangs over your head.
Kitchen full of dishes at midnight. You don't want that. Okay, and I would even say for really, really first steps, for people that are really at the beginning, start writing down a list of your family's favourite meals and stick that on the side of the fridge so that you know what ones to keep coming back to, and find ones that freeze well. That your family love, and every time you find a new one that the family loves that freezes well, write it on your list, and then when you go to divide up your menu and figure it out, you've got them already. You've already got ideas. You're not searching for ideas.
That's right. I think that's good advice.
And what I used to do when I first started, when I sort of helped people first start meal planning, was say, even if you just plan 5 meals for the week, that's 5 meals where you don't have that thing hanging over you of, what am I going to cook? And the other 2 can be, like you said, you may be going out, or they may be leftovers, or they may be a recipe that you just want to try that day and you feel like doing. And then you just swap the meals around to whatever suits on those days. Like it doesn't have to be Monday is this and Tuesday is this. It's just, there's 5 meals, let's use them when we feel like it.
And it gives you that flexibility as well. But if you're doing that one meal for that 1 week, if you're doing the 5 meals for that 1 week, do it times 3.
Yeah, that's right. And then you've suddenly got 3 weeks of meals.
And then you've got nearly a month.
That's right.
And that's all I'm doing. Yeah. And just mixing it up so that it's not the same 5 meals or the same 7 meals every week.
And then you can also, so if you've got a base meal, which is, say, some kind of marinated chicken, every time you have that marinated chicken, you serve different vegetables, or sometimes with rice, or sometimes with baked potatoes, or sometimes with a salad,
and that's what keeps it interesting.
That way it's not, because some people have said that too. How do you keep it from being boring? But it would just be how you serve it and the sides. And for instance, with the chicken, sometimes on skewers with other veggies, or sometimes
to make it interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's like if you do your big pot of bolognese. That then goes into some bolognese with some zoodles or whatever. Yep. Then you break it into your lasagnas with your grain-free pastries and pastas in there. And then cook it down a little bit more, reduce it right down, put some herbs and spices in there. There's your taco mince.
Yeah.
Just make all those changes.
I've even used bolognese mince with a mashed potato topping like a shepherd's pie.
Oh, yes.
And it's delicious.
Or even on a baked sweet potato.
On a baked potato.
So when you've got that little bit left, you can always put that in a freezer.
Add some cooked red lentils and stretch it out a bit further. I've made it into what we call hamburger soup, where it's like mince and basically a bolognese, but you add broth to it, and then you serve it with cheese on top and some sour cream.
Oh, nice.
And we call it hamburger soup. And you put some shredded cabbage through it as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's so many, if you have those base recipes, there's so many things that you can change. I have a really good Jamie Oliver cookbook that I got years ago that I love because it's so practical, and it will have a tomato sauce recipe, as in a pasta sauce.
Yes.
The base sauce. I'm trying to think what the sauce is called. Anyway, and then it'll have 5 different ways to use it. And then it'll have another base recipe and 5 different ways to use it. So if you can use those kind of things in your meal planning you're already ahead of the ball game. You've got so many different ways to use the one recipe. Do you want to borrow my book?
Can I borrow your book?
Yeah. Right here, where is it? Here we go. Jamie's Dinners. There you go.
Okay. Oh,
Ta-da.
nice.
Have
Cool.
you got it?
Thank you. No, I don't.
We're sitting here by my cookbook shelf.
Ooh, I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's in the early days. I've only done this a handful of times for this length of period, this length of time. And any hints or tips or tricks would be great appreciated. And then
we'll all keep learning, won't we?
Yeah.
I think it's such a good idea. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thanks, Jo.
And when you get your book ready, let us know. Actually, I'm gonna be like, come on, Bek, let's get this done.
Why not?
Hassle. No, I think it's great because so many people are very, very busy but want to eat healthy, and they get to the end of the day and they're so over everything and exhausted. All they want to do is curl up in the corner with something easy and not be bothered and tell the kids, please go to bed and leave me alone. We've all been there.
Yes, you do. And you don't want to think. You can't, you can't make decisions. Well, I know that at the end of the day, I can't think. I can't make decisions. I can't plan. I just want to sit down and
if you're starving hungry, you make really bad decisions.
That's right.
You go to the grocery store and go, I'll just buy all the chocolate.
We can have that for dinner, right?
So thank you so much, Bek. And I hope you guys all got lots out of it. If you have questions, shall they come and see you at Instagram? Do you want them to or not?
Well, I have just reactivated my Facebook.
She won't be able to do next term's cook-up. No, just kidding.
I haven't posted anything on there. I'm still learning how to use the Facebook.
It's been a while. Changes a lot in 3 years.
It's changed it, yeah. I accidentally added all these people on Messenger instead of Facebook, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a bit odd.
So that's funny.
So you can always shoot me some questions through on my Facebook page, which is Rebecca Freeman, Rebekah Freeman, and my Instagram is Rebecca_Freeman.
I'll put the links in the show notes.
Sure.
And if you've got questions for Bek, you can go and ask her.
And I'll start posting more pictures.
Yeah, because we want to see pictures.
To see how we...
That'll be good. And show us what you're eating at night. We want to see that.
Okay.
Not every night because we don't want to overwhelm you, but just when you feel like it.
But it's not pretty either. It's home cooking.
Well, see, this is the thing.
It's just...
We just want real. We have enough on Instagram and Facebook of pretty and unachievable. People just want real.
This is home cooking.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's fine. It's healthy and it's doable.
Sure. Thanks, Jo.
Thank you, Bek. And I hope you all enjoyed that. And I'll put some links for you guys in the show notes. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.